First off, say thank you to Coach B and Coach Lunny, for giving me this opportunity and this more responsibility. I'm extremely excited. I also want to thank Josh Whitman and Roger Denny for not only supporting us as support staff coaches, but also full-time coaches, everyone in this building. What they've done for us and the resources they've given us is truly amazing. So I'm super excited to be in this position to help these guys out, these quarterbacks out. And if you would have told me about 9 years ago, I'd be at the University of Illinois, I said, you're crazy. I remember driving out here for the first time, and it was during COVID. So when you get recruited during COVID, you didn't take no visits. You kind of just showed up and kind of went about it and didn't know what this place was about. I remember driving out here with my dad and seeing a whole bunch of windmills and cornfields and soybean fields. Didn't even know how to pump my own gas. And come to literally 5 years later, it's the best decision I've ever made in my life. Brett Bielema has changed my life. As a player, as a person, as a coach, man, I'm so thankful to be here and get to be around these guys every single day, man, because this place is a special place, and it's very near and dear to my heart. So with that, open up for some questions.
What are you most excited about in your new duties?
Yeah, just helping the quarterbacks, a little more responsibility and just helping those guys just be the best version of themselves. Get to go on the road recruiting. That's something that's really special to me because I love people. I'm a people person, man. I love people. I love getting to call a recruit and get to meet him on the phone, then meet his parents, meet the high school coach, and kind of seeing their journey unfold. I'll never forget the first phone call I made with Trey Petty. I'm calling Trey. He just got done playing a high school basketball game. He's sitting in his locker room. He's calling me. I'm talking. And to meet his mom, and meet his grandma, and to meet his grandfather. And I remember the first time I met Luke Altmaier. I didn't get to recruit Luke. I got here, and he was already here. I just transitioned from being a player to coach. I remember moving him into his dorm room, right? I'm like, man, this dude looks like a frat boy. He's about 195 pounds, soaking wet, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks in America. And to see his growth as a person and obviously as a player, man, it's so special, man. So super duper excited to get around those guys more.
Art started with an opening statement, so you got this coaching thing down.
Yeah.
Well, what have you learned in the last couple of years? The biggest thing you've learned from how to do this effectively?
I've learned so much. I think it always goes back to communication and consistency, like Coach B talks about. Being a great communicator. How do you teach? How do you go about communicating with people every single day? And how consistent are you with those relationships, right? That's the most. I love people. This is a people-driven business, right? And how you communicate, how you treat people the right way, how you keep people in the loop, what's going on. It's just communication and consistency, and just being, we had a coach that told me a long time ago when I got into this thing, and he was like, all I need is a toothbrush and a good attitude, right? And I've truly adopted that model, so it's been great.
Or obviously, Brett said you've probably had some opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah.
What's made you want to stay here? Obviously, they're empowering you. But
Yeah.
What's made you want to stick around here and soak more of Coach Lunny and Coach Bielema?
Yeah, Coach Bielema and Coach Lunny, and obviously the players we have in this building. Coach, like I said before, Coach B's changed my life, and he's given me tremendous opportunity. And just the things that he teaches us as coaches, he's always empowering us as young coaches, and the full-time coaches, just empowering us and teaching us every single day. I feel like he's teaching you how to become a head coach every single day. And then obviously Coach Lunny, I played for Coach Lunny, right? So we and him got a special bond, and just how he prepares every single day. Like, that guy does not spend a single moment of his day not thinking about how can we get better offensively, right? How can we put our players in position to have success? So those two guys, plus the players, and this is a building filled with really good people. Like, it is a joy to go to work every single day. Wake up, I really jump out of bed because I'm just so excited to be around this staff and be around these players, coaches, support staff. So it's awesome.
Does it feel like you have a head start on coaching? Coach B wasn't in your role at this age. I guess it was hidden that way. But you feel like that you're kind of ahead of the curve a little bit for your ultimate goals.
Yeah, I think so. I think when I was 19, I knew I wanted to coach, right? Okay. So that was always in the back burner of my head. So I kind of had the hawk. Even when I was at Rutgers, I'd watch those coaches. When I was at Illinois, I watched Coach B every single day, how we interacted with players. I watched Coach Lunny, how other coaches like Aaron Henry, man, that guy's got so much juice that freaking jumps out of his skin, right? So I would just kind of watch those guys and how I maneuver and how, I'll never forget we had an old coach here named George McDonald. Coach Gio was really close to me, and he used to write his players' notes before every game. That's pretty cool. So I would always just kind of take things down in the back of my mind and write it down as kind of I went through my time as a player.
So I remember you talking about sitting in those meetings early on as a 19-year-old at Rutgers. How do you process that? You're a co-quarterbacks coach in Power 4 right now.
It just goes back to I think loving players. This game is about impacting and empowering our players. It's about real relationships, and not just take that. So it's not what you know, it's how much they care about you, right? And I truly try to make it a personal connection with every person I come in contact with, right? And because I just think that's what this game is about, being a good person and caring about players outside the game. Like, my best coaches were the coaches that cared about me outside of ball. And through that, I could teach football, right? So I just think that, obviously a great opportunity. I'm super excited, but the more you make it about impacting and serving young people, you'll just climb that ladder.
How did your career as a player shape who you are as a coach?
So much, it's funny you say it because every time I talk to a quarterback recruiter, any type of recruit, it's like, hey, I literally was the starting quarterback. I was the backup quarterback. I was a look team quarterback. I got hurt. I lived 13 hours away from home. I lived 15 hours away from home. I've been booed out of my own stadium. I've been cheered out of my own stadium, right? So literally all my time as a player, I think, has made me a better coach because there's not a single kid I come in contact with that I deal with that I can't put my arm around and say, listen, bro, I know what you're going through right now. I feel for you, but let's get through this thing together. So I think that's served me tenfold. As much as I wanted to obviously play in the National Football League, all those great things, right? But I think it's served me so much more to become the best coach I could possibly be in person.
Coach said it's a young man's game in recruiting.
Oh, yeah.
What's it been like to be on the road, that Coach B put you out there?
Yeah.
What have you learned about that?
Man, I'm so thankful Coach B gave me the opportunity because I truly attack it. Because I know as a young coach, the greatest way I can bring value is player acquisition, right? And it's something I truly love to do. I love going into that high school, meeting that coach. And people think so much of recruiting is about, okay, let me get this player to come play for me. No, let me learn about you. So how can I make you the best version of you, right? People always say, oh, this is why you should come here. No. I love going and talking to a mom or dad, hey, how do I get the best out of your son, right? Because if I know how to get the best out of your son, we're all going to be happy end of the world, right? So, it's just, I love going in there. I love kind of mapping my schedule out, where I want to go, who I want to see. I love doing the pre-work, getting to it. And we got a great recruiting staff here, obviously with Pat and Nate and Proto and Drake and Victoria. They do a great job getting us kind of where we want to go and who we want to attack.
With spring ball starting, what are your goals for Luke?
Yeah, so I think all of our quarterbacks, we have a lot of mental and physical goals. We'll kind of get ready and how we want to go. And, Luke's, I always think about quarterback development, right? Just like when I took Stats 100 when I was at Illinois. I'm terrible at math. Stats 100, right? And I think school is almost similar to football, right? There's different levels and tiers of a process, right? We got some quarterbacks that are level 100 right now. We got some guys like Luke that have played a lot of football. They're at the AP level, right? So I think everybody's goal is different how we attack it. I kind of don't want to get into what those certain things are. I want to keep that in-house, but there's a lot of goals for our quarterbacks to kind of go forward, all four of them right now, and when Shawnee comes in as well.
How has Barry, you talked a lot about Coach B, how has Barry empowered you within that room in particular and letting you find your voice and develop that voice?
It's been awesome. I think the minute I got in the room, I kind of grabbed the bulls by the horn, you would say. I was kind of I always told myself no job is too big or too small. So if he needed something done, I was going to get it done. And every day's your resume, right? So if I handed somebody my resume right now, they look at it like, I don't know, man. But I knew the people that I deal with, if they saw how proactive I was, how kind of aggressive I was, and kind of, I would find work. It wasn't like, if you told me something, I was going to go find something to do, right? And I'm super blessed because he trusted me with that, right? That doesn't happen much, so I'm very thankful. He trusted me to kind of empower and talk to those quarterbacks and kind of teach them, because you got to realize I came here and I learned his system through him. So the way he speaks is how I speak, because he taught me from day one how we want to build. So it's kind of like, we got two voices in the room, obviously, and Coach Lunny's the leader, and I'm kind of like a little byproduct of that, so.
How have you evolved since, 2023 you were a student, and
yeah,
you get more responsibility? How do you feel like you've evolved in just 2 years?
Communication and consistency. I think teaching is so important in this. Obviously I get very passionate, you guys can tell, and I can speak very fast. So I think it's slowing yourself down and teaching the product to said player, said coach, right? And also finding better ways we can communicate that to said player, said coach, right? And how that's kind of thing why I've evolved, because obviously as a player, you don't got to teach, you just go play, right? But now as a coach, it's your job to go teach those guys what to do. So I think that and continuing that process and continue to grow is going to help me as a coach.
What is it about football that gets you so excited that this is your life's work that you want to make?
I just think it's the greatest game, because it takes all 11 guys on that football field to go accomplish your goal, right? That locker room, there's nothing like that locker room when you win a game. No matter if it's day 5 of mat drills or playing at Ohio State or home against Ohio State in an overtime game. All those little wins equate to a big win in the end, right? And I just think it's the relational, man. The one thing I miss the most about playing ball is just being in that locker room when we win, right? But now as coaches, you get that feeling because you're in that staff room all week long prepping, how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we do this, right? So it's almost the same thing, but a little different, right? But it's the greatest game you can ask for. And just to see these guys grow as a people and people when you see them, like this is going on year 5 for me. Like I had a bunch of former players hit me up yesterday, and we're talking about, hey, how did this guy look? How's Josh Cruz look this year? Because they saw those guys grow up. So it's just the game, the people, and the relationships that really get me fired up.
Art, what are some of the things you can take away from your playing career that you can pass on to the guys, to the players?
Yeah, just the different ways I've kind of dealt with adversity, different ways to kind of handle certain situations. My career was more down than up, but I think that's a blessing in disguise because I can help those guys get through those tough moments, right? And I want to, right? Because Coach B always says, man, you grow as a person more through tough times than good times, right? So that's kind of what I've taken most from my experience.
I know this is not where you grew up, but it's starting to feel more like home.
Oh, yeah.
You've been here long enough that you sort of feel like you're starting to do things you don't like or not.
For sure. This is home. New Jersey will always be home for me. I got a lot of great family and friends that live there, but Champaign-Urbana, this is home. I've been here for almost 4.5, going on 5 years now, almost know. When I first got here, I didn't know where anything was. Now, boom, boom, boom. They asked me for where to go out to eat. I'm like, you're asking, it just happens so fast. So for sure.
I want to ask you about Ethan.
Yeah.
Coming into a similar role.
Yeah.
That you probably did, or opportunity. That
Absolutely.
You did. What's your initial impressions of him, and just how do you kind of give him advice throughout this process?
Yeah, so it's been great. So Ethan's process happened so fast, as you know, through the portal. And I remember when Ethan first got in the portal, there's a guy named Tony Rassiopi who's a quarterback trainer in Central Jersey who does an unbelievable job. I think he's one of the best quarterback fundamental guys in America. Right, he's like, hey man, you gotta take a look at this my guy. I'm like, okay. So we start watching the film. I'm like, Coach Lonnie, man, this kid's pretty good, right? And I think for Ethan, right, the biggest thing is he's kind of came in here and he's just soaked it all in, right? He's here, we're walking through plays, he's living in the film room, right? And you can see kind of him and Luke's dynamic, which is awesome, almost like feeding off each other, right? And I'm just so excited for his growth, right, and his ability, because obviously he's a player that's done a lot of really good things at NIU, and I think he's going to do even more great things here through his relational and through his work ethic and so forth.
Remember maybe a moment earlier with Coach B that you realized that this was a guy that you knew if you kind of followed his guidance, you would go where you wanted to go?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing, and obviously Coach B taught me so much about how he treats people, right? I'll never forget when I was a player here, and he would always stop and he'd talk to everybody. He would talk to the janitor, he would talk to the lunch lady, he would talk to the quarterback. And I think how Coach B treats people, whether you're the starting quarterback or you're just a staff member in this building, right? That's something I'll take away from me for the rest of my life. That the way he treats people and goes about his business, I'm like, I want to follow this guy because he's an unbelievable man first. Then he's a great football coach, so for sure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.